He raised his glass before the crowd, his gold watch glinting under the ballroom lights. "And this," my wife's father said, laughter simmering beneath his polished smile, "is the young man who makes our cappuccinos. Quite the family addition, isn't he?" The laughter came slow, controlled, like a wave rehearsed 100 times. Even my wife smiled, softly, carefully. My hand tightened around the glass stem. The sound of laughter always seemed distant to me, like it traveled through water. I stared at their faces, the executives, the shareholders, the vultures in silk, and every one of them looked at me not as a man, but as a curiosity, just a coffee shop worker. I should have smiled back, played along, but something in me cracked open instead, quietly, invisibly. Later that night, as I stood by the bar, the secretary approached. She was trembling. Not from fear, no, from awareness. "Sir," she whispered, close enough that I could smell the nervous perfume on her wrists, "we need your bank's approval for the emergency loans." The glass in my hand froze halfway to my lips. Her eyes flicked toward my father-in-law. He was laughing with the board members, his confidence stitched into every gesture. And then his laughter stopped, because he saw me looking at him. In that single frozen second, the room turned cold. He'd always treated me like a project, a charity case his daughter married out of rebellion. The wedding had been small, forced into silence by his disapproval. Yet I'd thought love would be enough, that her smile meant truth, that she saw me beyond my title. But in that ballroom, surrounded by glass and money and false affection, I understood. I had been tolerated, displayed. My wife didn't look at me that night, not once. She floated around, radiant and distant. His daughter first, my wife second. And when the crowd finally dissolved into drunken laughter, I found her in a corner, whispering something to her father's financial advisor. Too close, too intimate, something twisted in my chest. When she noticed me watching, she didn't flinch, just smiled, a cold, rehearsed curve. The same smile she wore when her father spoke of business. Something was wrong. Later, in the car, silence grew between us like frost. She checked her phone twice, then turned it face down. I asked nothing. I simply watched her reflection in the window, her fingers tapping against her thigh, her lips tightening with each passing mile. That night, as she slept, her phone vibrated once on the nightstand. The name that flashed wasn't her father's advisor. It was her father. And the message read, "He doesn't know." Days passed. I played the role, smiled when spoken to, worked my hours at the coffee shop, signed my bank reports in private, but at night I read, observed, calculated. Her father's company was bleeding money, hidden beneath false projections and temporary liquidity delays. The kind of problem that required quiet bailouts, and the kind of man who'd never admit needing them. My wife's role became clear. She was the bridge, the emotional blackmail, the perfect tool to control the man who held the bank's approvals, me. I requested the files, discreetly. The numbers confirmed it. Millions in losses, fraudulent transfers masked as consulting payments. His empire was collapsing, and only one thing could save him: access to the bank funds under my signature. Every dinner became theater, every smile a performance. My wife spoke of travel plans, of houses we'd never live in. Her laughter was mechanical, like a metronome counting down. One night I asked her, softly, "Why did you really marry me?" She blinked. The question caught her mid-sip. Her throat tightened. "For love," she said. I smiled. Of course. But love doesn't have corporate documents hidden under false passwords. I waited until dawn to open the envelope I'd requested for my assistant. It contained the loan proposals, all pre-approved by her father's secretary, the same woman who'd whispered to me that night at the party.
She hadn't been warning me. She'd been confessing. The boardroom smelled of money and fear. He was there, my father-in-law, seated in the center, his arrogance still intact. My wife beside him, pale but poised. The folder in my hands felt heavy, final. I placed it on the table quietly. "Your company's emergency loans," I said, all awaiting the bank's final authorization. He straightened, eager to regain control. "Good, we'll sign immediately." I nodded. "There's one issue." He frowned. "Issue?" I opened the folder to reveal the internal audit reports, the fraud trail, his signatures on shell transactions, the missing millions. The room froze. My wife's breath caught audibly. Her father's face, once smug, untouchable, drained of color. "You," he began, voice trembling. I met his gaze. Calm, unblinking. "I know." He leaned back, silent. The silence of a man realizing the ground beneath him had already collapsed. My wife looked at me, eyes wide, tears threatening to betray her control. "Why?" she whispered. I didn't answer. Because the truth didn't need words. It only needed to be seen. I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I simply slid the rejection document across the table, my signature already in ink. "The bank will not be authorizing the loans," I said. "Effective immediately, all related accounts are frozen pending investigation." Her father reached forward, desperate. "You can't!" I already did. He turned to his daughter, his voice breaking. "Do something!" She couldn't. She knew it. The secretary entered then, holding another document, the internal notice to the financial press, timed to release in 1 hour. Her eyes avoided his. But she looked at me once, briefly, respectfully. In the reflection of the glass wall, I saw his empire crumble, not with an explosion, but with silence. No screaming, no violence, just the weight of his own humiliation returning to him. The same laughter he'd used against me now echoed only in his head. That night, I went home alone. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Her things were still there, neatly arranged, untouched. A life built on strategy, not affection. I stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker. I'd won, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like completion. A circle closed. They would both remember that night forever. Not because I shouted, but because I didn't. Silence, I've learned, is the most refined form of revenge. As I turned off the lights, I caught my reflection in the glass. Calm, unbothered, unfamiliar. For the first time I realized, humiliation is not what they give you, it's what you accept. And I don't accept anything anymore. He laughed at a barista. He lost to a banker.